Hey, what's up you guys? You're watching Team APS, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about whether or not archetype diversity has made Yu-Gi-Oh! Easier or harder to learn, and whether or not that's a good thing. So as we know, archetypes have pretty much become the de facto standard way to run decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! In the last few years. What used to be, let's find several different good cards that sort of interact well with each other, put them together and use them strategically, is now basically you pick an archetype that interests you, whether it's like art or theme or just how they work, and you just run that archetype. And archetypes have loads of crazy different mechanics and gimmicks and things like that. So, I mean, you've got stuff like ritual beasts that just, fuse and then unfuse and get searches. Or you've got things like Fire Fist that use the fire formation cards, or Sylvans that excavate. Well, the thing that I'm sort of bringing up today is, has that made Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually a harder game to learn and a harder game to pick up? Because, maybe a few years back, when you explained Yu-Gi-Oh! To somebody who didn't know how to play but was interested in learning, you could just sort of tell them basically about monsters, spells, traps, how they work when you activate them, the phases of your turn, things like that. But nowadays, it really feels like the archetypes are so different from each other and so almost mutually exclusive that a lot of the skills and plays that you learn by using a specific archetype don't really transition over to any other deck. Now, obviously there are exceptions, but got my handy dandy note card. I have like some examples. Basically, think about Madolche. Madolche in themselves sort of break the rule of monsters going to the graveyard when they get destroyed. They get shuffled back in. No other archetype really has that. I mean, the next closest thing is sort of like Gladiator Beast, I don't know. But the thing is, if you play Madolche, you sort of see the game from this, there is no real graveyard perspective, where the only thing in your grave is maybe like an Angela that's gonna get banished for a hoot cake. Or, some Xyz that you used up. And other good examples were, like I said, Fire Fists, Sylvans. Learning to, the way Sylvans work is completely unique from any other deck. And that's cool. Uniqueness is a good thing. But it means that if you've played, if you learn to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Through Sylvans, and then you decide, I want to play Ghost Tricks, none of the stuff that you sort of, you can't take anything you learn from Sylvans and really apply it to Ghost Tricks. There are some fundamentals in Yu-Gi-Oh! That will probably never really change, like, being smart about your resources and things like that. But generally speaking, it does feel like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything is so mutually exclusive, every archetype, that you really can't jump from one to the other except with, like really basic sort of fundamentals. And the next question is this a good or a bad thing? Because there are great parts about the archetype diversity that we have. Ultra Athletes and Melodious and Infernoids are like all new ones. Super Heavy Samurai, they've all got cool new gimmicks, is a negative word, cool new sort of like tricks and gameplay styles that make it really different to play them. Like, so if you play one deck and you face another, you're kind of, you get excited. You get to see these new different types of things in play, new strategies, new things to sort of figure out and work around. But the problem with it is it makes Yu-Gi-Oh! A surprisingly tough game to teach to somebody who's new. So if I'm just now learning Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've kind of learned how attack and defense and like monsters sort of work, it gets tough to explain to somebody that there's this archetype that, does this thing that no other archetype really does, and the thing itself is somewhat confusing, and you won't see it in any other deck. It kind of can make it tough, like especially for someone who's younger or someone who's casual. I know not everybody really cares about casual players, and I'm not saying that that's the only player base that should be appealed to, but I mean, it does feel like even in the competitive sphere, that with all of these decks working so differently, it's like being good at Yu-Gi-Oh! Becomes a little bit ambiguous, because you can be great with a deck that you've used for a long time if you're a long time Sylvan or Fire Fist or Ghost Trick user, I don't know. You'll really know that archetype in and out, and that's great, but because the archetype strategies are so different, it feels like you can't simply jump from one deck to the next unless you really kind of played Yu-Gi-Oh! For a long enough amount of time to have been in the period where decks were pretty similar. So I kind of want to know what you guys think. Should archetypes basically be sort of very different, very mutually exclusive? does that help, you know, keep the diversity, keep things fun, keep things fresh? Or is it a problem because, you know, it feels like you can't really teach these things to newer people and the skill sets for different decks don't really transition over? And I think that there's like not a right or wrong answer to that, but it's an interesting topic I thought I would bring to the table. So I hope you enjoyed it, and remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch for live streams. Also, I will be at a regional this weekend with the Twins and Trell. It's a regional in Shreveport, Louisiana. You can look it up on the Yu-Gi-Oh website. We'll all be there. I don't know who else is playing, but we'll all be there. I'll be getting videos. Come say hi if you're in the area. And yeah, that's all. So hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'll catch you guys later. See ya.